The following is intended only for mature audiences.
Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann, and it's just me. Basically, I'm gonna bitch the entire time without any sounding board that is number one fan Tim. And today's topic is professional sports. And let me just preface it by saying this. I'm 39 years old now. I have been a sports fan in varying capacities the majority of my life. But at a certain point, once I had kids, I realized just how fucking stupid and pointless professional sports are. Now, part of it could be that I live in Minnesota, and we haven't had a professional franchise win a championship since the Twins last won the World Series in 1991. Unless you're going to be open enough to admit that we're actually a 6-team professional sport town here in the Twin Cities. It's not just Viking football, Twins baseball, Timberwolves basketball, and Wild hockey. There's also the terrible United FC soccer team and the 4-time WNBA champion Lynx. So right out of the gate, if you listen to local radio, which there's an entire station devoted to talking about sports, you would get the impression we haven't had a championship season in this town in 30 fucking years, which is not true because the Lynx won 4 championships in the span of 8 fucking seasons in the last decade. Furthermore, we've had our hearts broken so many times in this goddamn state, primarily by the Twins losing a number of fucking times in the playoffs to the Yankees after very promising seasons. The Timberwolves basketball team, who are, by NBA standards, the perennial limp dick at the gangbang. Or the Vikings, who really never amount to anything, have lost 4 Super Bowls and happen to get our hopes up about once every 20 fucking years. 98 with Gary Anderson's wide left, or 2009 when Favre threw the interception instead of running the fucking ball 6 yards. But here's the thing. As much as I was pissed off in 98, watching the result of that game with my friends while we were working at Target, and then spent our break cold calling random numbers in Atlanta and screaming Vikings rule into the phone, it was stupid and it meant nothing. And just like in 09 when I was sitting with Other Neil and Lunchbox, Joey Black, at his apartment watching the Vikings in the NFC Championship fucking blow it, my life went on. Nothing changed. So let's just say 09, the Vikings, who basically all they had to do was just score and the end, and then they'd go on to the Super Bowl and have to fucking go up against limp noodle neck goddamn Peyton Manning and the Colts, and it was their Super Bowl to lose. Had they finally won it, literally nothing in my life would have changed. I don't get a check in the mail for them being champions. I don't get any sort of award for being a good fan. Whether I wear purple all the time or whether I wear none at all, it doesn't fucking matter. The same goes for the Wild, or as far back as our first hockey team, the North Stars. They left. People were furious. We didn't have pro hockey in Minnesota. Literally, my life did not change. And if the Wild won the cup now, I would be happy, but I wouldn't be at a parade losing my mind like we just found the fucking cure for AIDS. Baseball, the most boring fucking professional sport. No matter what the Twins do, I don't give a shit. It's baseball. I speak for basically my whole generation, and it is much to the chagrin of the owners of the teams in the league in general. Baseball is fucking boring as hell, and most people my age, or within a few years either way, don't give a shit anymore.
What?
So when you sit down and you think about people that get so worked up over their team allegiance, like for years it was dangerous to go to a Raiders game not dressed like a Raiders fan. You wore any other jersey, and they would beat the fuck out of you in the parking lot if they caught your ass. We're talking about full-on violent criminal acts perpetuated against other people because of a fucking sports game. Talk about being a loser. But that's just it. There's so many other more important things to divide human beings. You've got social status. You've got economic status. You've got skin color and religion. Why are we so caught up over different colored jerseys and who wins a child's game? Because that's what it is. No matter how serious you take it, it boils down to grown-ups playing a fucking kid's game. Athletes get paid millions of dollars to professionally do what a lot of kids do at the playground, working for an outcome that really only benefits them, their franchise ownership, or whoever happens to be putting billboards anywhere in the stadium or running commercials during the event. And we don't pay teachers that well, and we don't fucking pay police officers that well, we don't pay firefighters that well, but we give millions of dollars to people that just play a game. Oh, can you run fast? Can you throw a ball far? Can you dunk a ball? Can you hit a home run? Can you score some goals? Good for you. What the fuck else can you do? Because literally none of your contributions to your livelihood positively affect change for the betterment of society or mankind whatsoever. And that's just the United States. If you look over in Europe and the absolutely donkey-faced retarded amounts of money that they fucking pay soccer players, you run around on a grass field and you kick a ball. If you're in one of the pro leagues over in Europe and you're a good player, you make more money in one season than most people could make in 10 lifetimes. And golf. Who came up with this idea that you use a little metal stick to hit a stupid little white ball into a fucking hole in the ground? We got homeless people living in fucking tents and boxes with nowhere to go, no permanent address. But then we devote all this time and money and energy to maintaining a lawn where you can hit a ball around and drink beers and drive on a cart and make business deals and talk about how you're going to go cheat on your wife later. You could do the majority of that shit in a fucking bar and you wouldn't even need this giant grass field to do it in. Golf is the absolute most mind-numbingly stupid fucking sport. I have played it. You're supposed to be quiet and courtesy. I still remember years ago when I first started when number one fan Tim's dad told me it was a game of manners. And I'm like, that's fucking stupid. I want to talk shit while you're swinging so I can beat you at this. It's a competition, but I got to sit here and be courteous? That's bass-ackwards to me. And that's how I felt playing that fucking sport. I can't imagine what it's like to be one of those losers that watches that shit on TV like the outcome means anything. But again, so many people take it so seriously. They get tattoos of their team logo. They put flags outside their house. They paint entire rooms, the color scheme of the jerseys of their favorite professional sports franchise. And none of that factors in that a majority of it is probably rigged to some degree, as there have been so many scandals about it. But here's people fucking tearing their hair out over the outcome. People will chase down athletes for autographs that they can then turn around and sell on eBay. It's all a money-making scheme. That's all it is. It's no different than, like, casinos. See it for what it really is. It stimulates parts of your brain the same way that doing drugs does, so you're really just trying to get a fix. You're chasing a high. And it means nothing, because the majority of these people don't go on to do anything with their life that benefits the rest of us. I mean, sure, you'll get some that'll participate in the Make-A-Wish program, or they'll give money to charity, but let's call a spade here. You're only doing it because your agent told you to, because you got to make it seem like you made less money so you can pay less taxes. It's asinine. Like the NFL every year is a multi-billion-dollar industry, but yet those buttfuckers don't pay any taxes. And the rest of us, we just fight over how much we have to pay in out of our hard-earned dollars, busting our backs in our blue-collar fucking day-to-days, over how the hell we're going to fund health care and childcare and education. But the majority of sports fans I know, they don't even think on that level. They only care about the game is on. And you sit there and you watch the screen and you yell at the fucking thing like they can hear you and they can't. Or you go to the stadium and you pay an absolutely exorbitant amount for the ticket and then more for a licensing fee for the fucking seat because these greedy cockbag owners just cannot get enough of your stupid dough and you're lining their pockets. Idiotic. Oh, these athletes are heroes. No, they're not. They fucking play a kid's game. It's just a high-stakes version of it. So unless they themselves are going to get a degree before or after they're playing and then go be like a doctor and do brain surgery and save lives, or they're going to become an inventor of some new kind of technology that cuts down on greenhouse gases and carbon emissions. They're fucking nobodies. So many of them are substance abusers and spousal abusers, and some of them have 14 fucking kids by 10 women. And we're all like, yeah, you're so great. I wish I did what you did for a living, even though you'll end up fucking crippled and with brain damage. And that's what it is. It's gladiatorial combat if it's the NFL. We cheer these mooks on like they're hot shit, and they end up broken and beaten down and barely able to fucking function, some of them. But there the loyal fans are, lining up this time of year. Oh, and let's not forget about fantasy sports, which is even fucking dumber. You sit around in a room full of other fat, smelly fart bags and fucking eat chips and chili and sit there and pick players off of a board, which is basically, in my mind, it's comparable to like the slave trade where they'd stand around and be like, he looks like he's got a strong back. He's going to come and pick cotton on my farm. Well, you're sitting around like, well, he's the fastest and he's got the most yards per carry. I choose him. And I have so many friends that do this, and they lose so much time and they stress themselves out and ignore their fucking families because they're too busy watching multiple games just to watch one guy do one thing so they can get points and be the league champion to win a few dollars, which is probably not even close to the amount of money you would earn if you worked the number of hours you put into that stupid pastime. But what purpose does any of that serve? None. Because it's all imaginary. It's the stock market of fucking professional sports, and people just waste all this money, and there's DraftKings and all these other betting sites. That's all it is money. It means nothing, and you should be using that time to spend with your friends and your loved ones, because if you died from cancer tomorrow, nobody on any professional sports team is going to give a flying fuck. Unless you're like their cousin or something. Otherwise, they don't care about regular people. You're just a cog in the machine, and without your money, they don't get to play their little kids' game and be rich. And it isn't because I wasn't good at sports or I didn't play sports, because I did. I never brought home a championship trophy, and nobody gave me a trophy just for showing up because I didn't grow up in that era. But aside from the fact that it helps kids build confidence and it gives them something to do outside of drugs and alcohol, they need to have extracurricular activities so they don't turn out to be shitty people. Well, I'd like to think of a few scandals around these parts involving Elk River High School and some broomsticks up some butts, or how many of these all-star players just end up being rapists once they get a couple of drinks in them. And the sad reality is that the stereotype of the jock exists for a reason, because it has a lot of truth to it. And those jocks, they shit on the kids that aren't sports players, so really it's just another excuse for kids to point their finger at others and laugh and treat them like shit. And parents act like having their kids play sports is going to also save them from having these terrible lives where they're bored and get into drugs and alcohol and criminal activity because they don't have a pastime to distract them. Honestly, it's the exact opposite. Because if you play sports, you're probably popular. If you're popular, you get invited to parties. If you go to parties, people aren't sitting around comparing their fucking Pokemon card collections. They're not sitting there in the garage trying to band together to build a new battle bot out of a fucking erector set so they can win a scholarship to MIT. No. They're drinking, they're drugging, and they're fucking. Because there's always some parent that wants to be cool and let the kids go hang out there and do whatever the fuck they want. No, it's a bunch of assholes drinking and burping and taking their shirts off and flexing, and you're basically like apes. Professional sports, football especially, only stands to further strengthen the theory that we evolved from monkeys and not from some imaginary cloud man in the sky snapping his fucking fingers like Thanos and making humankind happen. Some of the most emotionally imbalanced and overall shitty people are professional athletes. But continue to teach these kids that, oh, you're so great if you play sports. How about you worry about your academics and you not fucking graduate with a barely passable GPA where you're on academic probation? You have to have somebody else fucking pass your tests for you. Because God knows we haven't heard about that before, right? Think back, Clem Haskins, we found out after the fact that his Gopher basketball team had tutors and people doing the work for him so they could fucking pass their classes to play basketball. And a great many of them, once they're done, have to become coaches, or else they'll end up selling cars or pumping gas or working in a factory. These aren't intelligent people. You're just stronger and faster. Unfortunately, society has evolved to a point where we don't need you to just be stronger and faster. We need you to be smarter and create ways to fight pollution and poverty and world hunger and health crises. But hey, you just hit 40 home runs in your senior season, Billy, so now you're going to go to college and you're going to play more baseball. Statistically, you're not going to crack the books, barely get through your classes through a number of fucking hoops that are jumped through by your coach and other people that he has do it for you, and you're going to come out of it just as dumb as you were going in. But you're going to get to hit a ball. Maybe, if you see it coming. And if not, well, good for the other team, because that's the point of baseball, is to make sure the other team does nothing. Right? Yeah, no wonder those MLB numbers are down. And basketball, which has long been a bastion of hope for inner city youth, and let's be frank, it's mostly black guys playing basketball. There ain't a lot of white dudes in the NBA. Nobody is on par with LeBron or Kobe or Jordan in terms of white dudes. Nobody. Not Larry Bird. None of those motherfuckers. So because there's a disproportionate amount of low-income black families, the majority of young black men that play that game stand a substantially higher risk of ending up a victim of violence. Why? Because shit goes down on the court. But again, how many of these kids, their only chance in life to make anything of themselves is to go from having absolutely nothing to becoming a professional athlete and having more money than they ever know what to do with and no gumption on how to save it or spend it wisely. And it's just like Adrian Peterson, who's arguably the greatest running back of all time. And he is also arguably one of the stupidest motherfuckers to ever play that position with the number of kids he has and how broke he is now from child support. See, so even if they make it out of the hood, even if they make something out of themselves, there's so many other influences and so much peril that can destroy their lives to make all of it meaningless. We should be pushing them to value their education so that they can get real fucking jobs that become careers for life, not these short stints where they have a little bit of glory and then end up basically back to fucking square one. For every 100 kids that play sports in their life, there's one kid that grows up to be a doctor and work on new cancer treatments or medical advancements. And that one kid is worth more to mankind than every athlete playing professionally all put together the world over. And that's just me bagging on the participants. Now let's get back to bagging on the people that are basically fucking cheerleaders watching this shit religiously and acting like it means anything. If I'm being brutally honest, there's one fact that you should take away from this entire episode. Sports are just a fucking distraction. You're just temporarily stepping outside of the reality of your own life for this other bullshit. Think where you would be if you took the time you spent lazing about and cheering these fuckers on and you applied it to bettering yourself, or more importantly, helping others. But you waste so much time and emotion on this pastime that really does nothing to better your life and doesn't make a real impact. Now, if one of my kids dies in a car wreck, that's going to haunt me forever. The 2009 NFC Championship, I'm over that shit. It means nothing. Even if we won the Super Bowl that year, it would have meant nothing to me. The 91 World Series, nothing. And yeah, you might bond with your children over watching the game, but if they talk during it too much, you're going to yell at them to settle down. If they run in front of the TV, you're possibly going to slap them across the ass for blocking your view. Or it's Thanksgiving and there's a basketball game on or a football game on, or it's Christmas and there's a basketball game on, and you've got family over and you're fucking arguing over the outcome and which team is better, and it's just mindless fighting. All sports really do is make rich people richer, stupid people more money than they can handle, provide yet another reason for people to justify getting pissed drunk, and the rest of us fucking argue and divide us. You could say, oh, unite us in the fan base. Well, if a player does something stupid and there's some people that think he's okay still and some that don't, or heaven forbid somebody kneels during the national anthem, well, now you've got a whole nother fucking separative debate on your hands. And all it's done is just divide us further than we already were. So in closing, sports are fucking stupid. I understand the appeal, but they mean nothing, and I wish more people would devote the amount of energy they do to professional sports fandom to bettering themselves, because we would be a much stronger country if that was the case. Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It. That is at What Do We Call It. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm Jmann. And that's the end.